And the last thing we all talked about is the idea of tests or testing that is done, or that we like to conduct on pilot attempts. Of course, the word tests that are conducted on pilot attempts includes everything, whether they are tests conducted during the pre-commissioning stage or the testing stage for power stations, or if you have a current transformer and you have a filter part and you are testing it, or these tests are also done during fasting times, which is preventive maintenance. Very nice. Okay, and we said what our tests are. We said that since the current transformer is simply a primary and secondary winding, and between them is an iron core, the first thing I want to make sure of is the ratio that the plane that will pass through the primary will be transformed into a secondary plane according to the CT turn ratio, which is I primary, I secondary. Turn this ratio, which is I primary to I secondary, equals N secondary over N primary, where the current is transformed. The other thing we mentioned is the idea of how the current transforms with an angle, and we talked about the topic or the characteristic of the primary and secondary. We said when they are drawn on the same side, it means if they are drawn, it means when they are drawn opposite, what does it mean? The primary is drawn on one side and the secondary is drawn on the other side. This means it is additive polarity. So what is the necessity of subtractive and additive? We said, well, my polarity is subtractive or additive. We said, well, mine is additive. As a current transformer, it doesn't make a difference to me, but it matters when I connect this current transformer to the metering device or the protection device, because here the directionality or the correct reading of the current direction is very important to me, because if I connect the current transformer secondary circuit to a meter device, and I mean here a secondary meter device, whether analog or digital. Also, I'm talking about whether it's an ammeter, a power meter, or an energy meter. Here, the direction of the current will matter to me in terms of power direction, whether it is exported or imported. The same applies to reactive power, meaning in the end, it also matters to me in terms of the power factor, whether it's lagging or leading or so on. Very nice. Okay, so that's regarding the directions in energy. And energy is obviously important now because you are billed for it. So do these bills for you represent power or not? Meaning, is it exported power or imported power? i.e. power going out from your bus bar to the feeder in the direction of, or coming in the opposite way, okay? And this obviously makes a big difference in billing calculations, especially if you're talking about lines between countries or between stations. We calculate the energy exported and imported between the stations. The second thing is if it was connected to, we also agreed that it has, and I didn't mean the word, but I meant that you have something called, meaning there is zones and protection. And when I said zones, I didn't mean the word distance, but I meant zones as in you have something called forward zones and reverse zones, meaning there are protections that protect my line in the direction, meaning the forward direction, which looks towards my line that protects it, or my feeder that protects it. And there are some things that look in the reverse direction towards the bus and towards what is connected with the same feeder of mine on the bus. And it can be, it might just be in, it might be just in the reverse direction or non-directional. It might be reversism. Reverse zone, for example, in distance protection, it can be used as backup protection in case of bus bar failure or the feeder connected with the same feeder of its bus to open. And that's why this polarity was very important, very important. After that, we had the CT winding resistance. And here the CT winding resistance is very important to ensure the resistance of the secondary windings of the current transformer. And since I am talking about winding resistance, I am referring to conductor resistance. And we will discuss this story right now. So here I am talking about conductor resistance. And what am I talking about? I am talking about conductor resistance. Let's take a look together.